So it's time to get messy. We have our plate here that has dried overnight, and I flattened it back out. It had gotten a little bit, twisted, but that's okay. It's still flexible, and we're gonna put ink on it. Now, the inking is in principle the same as it was for the intaglio plates. That is the dry point or the solar plate. So we're wanting to wipe the ink on there and force it down into all the little crevices and things like that. And certainly you can put it onto a card and pull it across like we did on those. But the truth is, most of the time you end up tearing up some portion of your collagraph. So I tend to like to actually put this on with a brush, even though it takes a little bit longer. Now, the best scenario is that we would have a flat brush or a bright, and it would be relatively stiff. But I couldn't locate one of those in my bin, so we're going to use this old brush, and it could ruin your brush because you're going to be, pushing down inside here to try to get it all in. So I wouldn't use your best brushes to do this. So we'll get some ink, and we're going to start putting it in there. And I'm going to be a little bit tender with it because I don't want to pull up the things that I've glued down, but I do want to coat the entire surface, just like I did with dry point or with any kind of intaglio plate, because we're going to have a plate tone there. And to begin with, I usually go kind of not sloppy, but I put a good bit on there. And then whenever I go to finish it, right before I wipe it, I'm going to spread all that out, knowing that I've gotten it down into all those crevices around the shapes. And I'll try to do this quickly so that you don't have to, watch and be bored for too long. As long as I get some of it on all the plate, it's going to be okay. And the ink will spread out when I go to do my wiping. So I don't have to be, super careful about getting it everywhere. When I go to wipe it all off, it's going to spread out there because I'm going to start from the center and I'm going to work my way outward. But I'm paying particular attention to all the edges because those are what are really going to hold the ink. And I want to make sure that I get it down in there so that I can get a nice impression off of those edges, because the edges are what it's all about, the edges and the crevices. So hitting all those edges first, and then I'll work my way back out. Now, I'm not gonna make you watch me do all of this. I'm going to do one section here for you the way it ought to be done, and then we'll cut it off, and I'll go do the rest of it off camera. So I've got my main shape here. It's got a lot of edges. So I'm going to start pulling from the center outward, paying particular attention to all those edges, because I don't want to be wiping off ink forever, but I do want to make sure it gets down in there. So I'm going to pull it from inside out. This is the ink I've already put on, so I'm not adding extra ink here. Instead, I'm trying to distribute this ink as evenly as possible while making sure it's in those crevices. And of course, if you've got a very complex image, you may be doing this for a little bit. If it's got a whole lot of twists and turns and things like that, then you may be digging it and twisting it and doing all kind of things to get that ink down in there, and that's okay. Just always being as gentle as possible, because you catch one of those edges, you give it too hard and it pulls it up, and then now you're back to going back and trying to re-glue it, and that's a real pain. All right, so I'll do the rest of this off camera, come back when it's time to wipe, and then you can watch that.